creating rapid runoff into our deep tunnel system operated by MWRD. This is creating rapid runoff into neighborhood streets, major streets in this area, and even into folks' basements. And as you can see, this storm, this is really how we get into trouble around here. There's a convergence boundary setting up here, so it's not moving. You could be a mile or two away, north or south, and you're not experiencing the storm. But inside of this strip, which the National Weather Service has reported very well, has really honed in on very well with this warning. There's just torrential tropical rainfall, and it is refusing to stop quite yet. Let's go back to actually we're showing the radar estimates of some of the rain totals that we're seeing for this flash flood warning near the Burbank area. These are continuing to pile up as we report to you here, because the radar is getting minute by minute updates in this type of situation, and the rain is just absolutely torrential. You know, at my home weather station yesterday, we briefly got a 3-inch-per-hour rain rate, but it only lasted for a couple of minutes. So this is 3.5 inches per hour from Bronzeville out toward Hyde Park and Midway. That's just sitting there. So this is really how we get into trouble in these situations. You can handle 3 inches of rain per hour for a brief period of time, but if it actually sits over you for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, as we're thinking is possible, this is why this is such a troublesome and concerning situation that we're seeing. Let's project this forward again on our high-resolution model looking toward the next several hours. There's the timeline: 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Hopefully by 3 and 4 o'clock this is out of the city, but as this loops again, let's watch this. Storm sitting right here, 12, 1, 2 o'clock. We've got possibly at least another couple hours, and remember, this is just a future projection according to one computer model, a very reliable one for us, but it's possible that this boundary is even more stubborn than what you're seeing here. It's possible that the storm could sit over this same area for even longer than what we're seeing here. So let's pull back up the watch warnings. As I mentioned, we do have a flash flood watch for much of the area, a flood watch, and a flash flood warning for Chicago. The warning, of course, is different than a watch, because a watch means these conditions are possible. Flooding is possible because of the environment that we have outside, because of the moisture that we have outside. But a warning means it's actually happening right now, and that's what we're seeing with the storm that's moving through the Chicago area on the south side. Let's take you back to another live view. I'll step out of the way. You can actually see that this is above the clouds from the Hancock, looking back toward that storm. If we give you a better perspective of inside of the storm, this is on the Dan Ryan now, just south of downtown, looking northward. So the worst of the storm is behind this camera. It's down to the south. But you can see even here on the Dan Ryan at Rate Field, some really heavy rain. You can kind of see sheets of rain there hitting the parking lot and hitting the camera. Visibility quite low in these systems. So if you're driving and you are heading south from the loop on the Dan Ryan, or if you're going out about your day in Bronzeville, out toward the Midway Airport area, this is what you're going to encounter. This is why it's a good day to maybe push off that errand or push off the drinks with a friend or your lunchtime plans today, because you're going to encounter this. This is what it looks like right now at Midway. And during a flash flood warning like this, the safest place you can be and the safest thing you can do is just to stay home. Most people in a flash flood warning, about 75 or 80% of fatalities, deaths in flash flood warnings, happen in cars. They happen when people think, oh, that water over there is not so deep. My big truck can handle it. This SUV can handle it. But oftentimes it can't. Only a foot of fast-moving water can move your vehicle, sweep you off your feet. Only 2 or 3 feet of standing water can stall out your vehicle, and then somebody has to come rescue you. You have to call 911, and that puts more lives in jeopardy, of course. So if you're just joining us, this is the flash flood warning for the Chicago area. We're actually going to do a live on-air update on CBS News Chicago in just a moment. So I'm going to let you go here on the stream for a moment. We'll see you on air and back here on the stream in just a few. I'm meteorologist David Yeomans.
This has been a special weather alert from the CBS News Chicago First Alert Weather Team.
And earlier this morning, crews pulled a worker from a piece of construction equipment that tipped into a hole at this
rain that's moving in. Just south of that location, we have a very dangerous and potentially historic flood event developing. You might be on either side of this storm and wonder, what flood event? We've got folks outside of our studio here in the Loop with dry weather and no umbrellas. But if you are underneath this storm, this is absolutely no joke. We have a history in this area of dangerous flash floods developing in a situation just like this. National Weather Service just telling us we are about to upgrade our flash flood warning to include a considerable tag. This will activate the wireless emergency alerts. In the area, we're getting reports of flooded and impassable roads. This is exactly what we first alerted you would happen an hour and a half ago when this storm started building in. A very dangerous flood event developing in this section of the south side of Chicago out to extreme southeastern DuPage County. This could even be, heaven forbid, upgraded to a flash flood emergency if this storm does not move for another hour or two. This could be a historic situation where, like 2023 in July, 4th of July NASCAR weekend, and back in September 2023, you remember different parts of town, including the Loop, Austin neighborhood out west, got 7 to 9 inches of rain, and folks are still cleaning up their basements from that flash flood event. This, heaven forbid, could end up like a situation like that if this storm just refuses to move. So zooming in again, this is very localized. If you're up the Kennedy in Wicker Park, if you're in even West Loop or the Loop, there's no rain falling, and we may be dry for the next couple of hours, but just south of downtown, this is really torrential and tropical rain, which is starting to, try to spread north. But really, it's kind of the convergence, the air coming together in the atmosphere with nowhere to go but up to form these big tropical clouds, and then it rains back down. This convergence boundary itself, focusing the storms, it does not yet appear to be drifting northward or southward. We are seeing some heavy rain expanding into Burbank, soon to be Oak Lawn, but the dangerous flooding, and now we are hearing from the National Weather Service, so I hope Newsroom you're listening, impassable roads on the south side of Chicago. So let's zoom in here. We'll take you real tight from neighborhood to neighborhood. Here we are in Bronzeville and Washington Park. You guys are under the flash flood warning, and you are about to have your wireless emergency alert signal tone. If you've ever heard that alert, like for an Amber Alert or for a tornado warning, it's a big beep that comes through your phones if you have opted into them. This will not happen outside of the warned area, so it won't happen in the Loop. It won't happen south of Jackson Park. But anywhere along the lakefront, from Washington Park and Bronzeville westward, this is absolutely dangerous rainfall that just refuses to quit. So here we are out toward Midway. Midway, remember, recorded a 63-mile-per-hour wind with yesterday's severe storms. These storms are a little different. We don't have that much lightning even, much less hail or wind damage reported at this time. This is more like tropical rain that you would get in a hurricane. The atmosphere is very warm, it's very moist, and that is the case all the way up into the clouds, 15,000 or so feet high. When you have total saturation of moisture from here to 15,000 feet above your head, and you have air coming together like this in this tropical environment, this is leading to really dangerous flash flooding. I can't emphasize enough the situation that's developing here on the south side. If you are in the warned area, what do? In a flash flood warning, I always tell you the safest place to be generally is at home. If you do have a basement that floods, stay out of the basement, obviously. If you do encounter a situation where your actual home is flooding, heaven forbid, call 911 and someone will come rescue you. But 99% of the time, home is the safest place to be during a flash flood warning, like we're seeing right here. Your car driving through water-covered roads is absolutely the most dangerous place to be, where about 8 out of 10 flash flood fatalities happen. From Midway out to Bedford Park, Bridgeview, look at this torrential rain. Some of these purples, absolutely blinding rainfall. This is tropical rain that continues westward from there. Countryside, Hodgkins, Burr Ridge, and Willowbrook out to Darien. And notice the National Weather Service has really done a nice job with this warning. The rain just cuts off as you go toward Woodridge and Lisle in DuPage County. So we don't need to be worried about flooding in those areas right now. We've really highlighted here, the National Weather Service has at least, the most dangerous part of this storm. If we zoom out just a bit, I'll actually take you all the way out to our home view. This is such a localized warning. Chicago flash floods don't usually occur over the whole county, right? They usually happen in a very slim area where we get these dangerous elements coming together, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now here today. Newton and Jasper counties, a couple light showers, nothing to write home about. Down in Morris, Grundy County, I know the farmers down there need some rain. You're getting some beneficial rain. We are not too worried about you guys right now. What we are worried about is this boundary. What caused this? Well, in addition to the tropical level of moisture that's in the atmosphere today, You feel the humidity outside feels like a sauna. Dew points of 75, 80 for the past couple of days. In addition to that, we have a little bit of a lake breeze and also a weak cool front coming in from the north. So this would act to provide a northeasterly push of winds into this area. Combining with that, we have southerly flow coming up from Tinley Park ahead of a little disturbance, a small low pressure or storm spinning our way from Missouri, actually, well to the west. So you have this south wind ahead of that little system, combining with the northeast wind coming from the lake breeze and also a weak cool front to the north. And that's why we are, super concerned with this, because there is no sign of this abating yet in these areas. If you're just joining us, a flash flood warning has been issued for the south side of Chicago from Bronzeville down the beach there, out west toward Bedford Park and Westmont. Midway Airport is smack dab in the middle of this. We've had some reports from rain gauges and spotters in the area of 1.5 inches of rain in a half hour. That's 3-inch rain per hour rates. That's tropical. It's very, very heavy. We've also had some reports of now impassable roadways on the south side of Chicago. We don't know exactly yet where those impassable roadways are. I'm chatting with the National Weather Service here on the side, which I'm continuing to monitor for updates. But the safest thing you can do if you are in this area, in the flash flood warned area, is just stay home. I do fear that this could be one of those summer flash flood events where we have massive amounts of insurance claims for flooded basements. We may have people being rescued soon on roadways. Have not heard of that yet, but this always happens. People going under train tracks or people going in low-lying roadways and thinking there's just maybe a half a foot of water to go through, which you shouldn't do anyway, but then it ends up being much more. Or maybe the roadway underneath has caved in or been washed away, so it actually ends up being a much more dangerous situation than you might suspect. National Weather Service telling us off air that heavy rain is starting to spread into the southern reaches of downtown Chicago. South Loop seeing some rain, Cicero as well. We'll monitor this for any expansion of the flood threat, but again, the main flood threat, really the bulk of it, has been just south of there. Let's go back to our rain totals as we continue to monitor. Look at this, just over the past hour. This is just a 1-hour loop. Those yellows and reds developing. If we put this on the now territory and we zoom in just a bit to get even tighter, notice how the rain totals have been laughable in the loop. South Loop, right at the Dan Ryan there. Actually, let's query it down a little bit lower. We've had 1/4 inch or less, but you keep following the highway south, the expressway, and we're over 2 inches. On Lakeshore, close to the water there in the flash flood warning, 1 inch. But if you follow this a little bit farther westward, notice how this is really significant rainfall piling up in the Inglewood area. 4.6 inches of rain and counting. That's a full July's worth of rain in 2 hours, hour and a half, just west of there. Let's query some more of these reds. I suspect some of these are now getting up to 5 inches, 4.7, close to Midway. If we pan the radar a little bit more toward the west, this will allow us to get an even better view of some of the rain totals out that way, toward Bedford Park, in between Bedford Park and Midway. Check this out. We have some more likely 3 to convection or thunderstorm activity is developing. Plainfield, Romeoville, this is some very heavy rain that we'll have to keep an eye on. Overall, this whole system, you can see there, starting to drift southward and taking the flash flood threat southward with it. Let's reset for just a moment. I want to get you some of the live views of this storm, often more stimulating to look at, more convincing of the danger than just looking at the radar colors. If we take you first into the downtown area, this is Grant Park. Notice we're just getting some light rain, not too big of a deal here. But if we look southward toward the Midway Airport, look at this. What a difference you'll see. You can't see much of anything. Visibility at Midway, no doubt, under a quarter of a mile. Arrivals, departures, going to be a nightmare for your flights or your friends or family coming back to town or leaving town today. This is a very dangerous storm, not because of tornadoes or because of wind damage or hail at this time, but just because of the incredible rainfall rates that it is producing. I'll show you real quick the future weather model, and then we'll leave you for just a moment. Be back with another update shortly. This is a projection of the next several hours. This is one of our best models showing, look at this. Here we are now, an hour from now, 2 hours from now. This storm may slide out toward Whiting, where the Pierogi Fest is happening, unfortunately, but it may also just sit in place overall for another hour at least, leading to dangerous flooding. And you guessed it, there we are this evening by 6 o'clock. Another flash flood producing storm could be rolling in from the west. I'm meteorologist David Yeomans. We are sending out our crews to the south side right now to cover a dangerous flash flood developing. We will be back here on streaming, CBS News Chicago, and on air on Channel 2 as the situation warrants. Keep it right here. We'll be back soon.
This has been a special weather alert from the CBS News Chicago First Alert Weather Team. Keeping you safer sooner. CBS 2 First Alert Weather. CBS 2 News streams here. CBS News Chicago.
Hey, good afternoon. Meteorologist David Yeomans joining you with another live severe weather update. We have a dangerous flash flood developing on the south side out towards southeastern DuPage County. This is now leading to a vehicle rescue in progress. National Weather Service just telling us moments ago that in the Washington Park area on South State Street, there's an underpass that is completely filled with water. And again, there's a vehicle rescue in progress. So you may be outside of this small flash flood warning and think, why do you keep interrupting my shows? We apologize for the inconvenience, but a lot of our neighbors here, I would venture to say close to 1 million people are in danger of a flash flood developing right now. The flood has really already developed with this stationary thunderstorm, not so much toward Joliet and Romeoville, but right here from Bronzeville and Washington Park westward toward Westmont. The one positive update I have to share as this flash flood warning is set to continue, considerable flash flood warning through 2:45, it's that we've seen a little bit of weakening in this tropical band of rain and thunderstorms just in the past couple radar scans, and this can be a good sign. So we'll continue to monitor this progress. The worst of the falling rain may still be behind us, although the worst of the problems on the ground, basement flooding, roadway problems, those will continue now for some time. Let's zoom in now on this total rainfall accumulation. If we freeze this in the now category, we've hardly gotten anything from the north side into the loop. But when you query some of these amounts that we're seeing, these are very significant. This is technically a 6-hour rainfall total, but from Washington Park westward toward Midway, this has all fallen in 2 hours or less. 5 to 6 inches of rain estimated by radar. We've had some confirmations on the ground from rain gauges, storm spotters, of 3 inches inches of rain per hour. This would be 5 inches of rain in about an hour and a half or 2 hours. So this does track with ground conformation. Out toward the west, Hodgkins, Burr Ridge, we're also seeing some very concerning rainfall totals of 4 to 5 inches in some of these areas. So the worst of the storm system now appears to be weakening just a bit, but also transitioning toward the south. So if you live south of this flash flood warning and your phone has not sounded an emergency alert yet, don't be surprised if we do get another flash flood warning shortly. The areas where the flash flood warning is likely to be extended to, if it does, include Burbank, Oak Lawn. Notice, though, how some of these deep reds and purples again are starting to show signs of weakening. Hopefully this is a trend that continues. If we zoom out a little bit, panning you up towards Chicago, notice how millions of people in the city are completely unaffected from the Eisenhower Expressway northward. With that said, it is possible that we see additional storm development after this line weakens. Threat of flash flooding across our area continues, not only with the flash flood watch until 6 p.m. tonight, but through the night tonight and through the day tomorrow. I'm meteorologist David Yeomans. We'll be back with more live updates. In the meantime, in this flash flood warned area of South Chicago toward DuPage County, stay off the roadways, stay out of your vehicle, and stay at home. You can join us on streaming CBS News Chicago for continued coverage right now.
This has been a special CBS 2 News streams here. CBS News Chicago.
The best for those folks who were trapped, and also for the first responders. We thank them for their efforts to get them out of the situation. As I first picked up on, though, moments ago, you can see how this storm is starting to weaken a bit. We were talking about a potentially historic flash flood developing on the south side out to Bridgeview and Hinsdale. It is possible that this ends up being a very costly and inconvenient event for many, with flooded basements, cleanup that will continue for weeks or months, and insurance nightmares. But now that this storm is starting to move a little bit southward, and also these deepest reds and purples, look at that, are starting to break up, this is a good sign that the storm is starting to rain itself out, and the worst of this storm, at least in terms of falling rain, may have come and gone. Now, as the storm continues its slow southward progress, Crest Hill, Romeoville, you guys are just now getting your first pounding rain of the event, and we'll watch your area for flooding, not under a warning right now, but the overall motion of this thing is starting to exit the flash flood warned area, and it's also starting to weaken just a bit. So Oak Lawn down to Worth, Palos Park, these are areas that will likely get some heavy rain if it hasn't begun yet as this storm transitions southward. But overall, if we see this thing moving, which we are starting to now, this is a really good sign, because our friends in Summit out to Washington Park and Bronzeville really need a break with this. Unaffected by this storm, anybody really in the loop all the way up toward Evanston. We've been completely dry as our friends in South Chicago really get absolutely hammered by this storm. Radar out in Romeoville doing fresh scans every minute and a half for us to get us the latest data. We're not seeing any hail with this. We're not seeing any wind damage with this, fortunately, but we are seeing just torrential, really heavy rain that just won't stop. Let me take you out to our network of live cameras, I'll illustrate just how different things can be in different areas. For instance, out in Rosemont and the O'Hare Airport area, where we do have a ground stop because of storms in the area, look at that, it's not even raining. Traffic there on the expressway appears to be moving along just fine. We've got some dark cloud bases in the distance and some planes there parked at the gates, but no real trouble transpiring in terms of the live weather there. If we take you though to a different location, let's go to the south side, just south of the loop. This is our rate field camera at the Dan Ryan, and this is one area just on the north side of that storm. So this isn't even the worst part, but we've really been getting quite wet here. You can't see the skyline in the distance. Traffic not coming away from the storm northward, but going toward that worst of the storm southward has been very, very slow. You can see all the 18-wheelers stacked up. This is going to be a nightmare Friday afternoon commute, and I know Friday afternoon commutes are not usually very pleasant to start with in the city. Let's go down to one of the hardest hit areas though. This is Midway. Midway, and let me know in the control room if we've gotten word of a ground stop. I haven't seen one cross my phone quite yet, but this is where we've been getting absolutely drenched. Tropical rainfall. Visibility has now improved a little bit, maybe a half mile or a mile. Earlier, 10-15 minutes ago, you couldn't see anything from this camera, and that's a good indication again of what we're seeing on radar, actually confirmed by our naked eye, which is that the worst of the storm is starting to pass. The storm itself starting to weaken just a bit, even though heavy rain is certainly falling. What about for all of us downtown? We do have a ground stop? Yes, ground stop confirmed at Midway. Thank you guys back in the control room. Back in downtown, depends on which camera you're looking at. This Hancock camera a bit up in the clouds for us, but we'll continue to give you these live views of the storm as they transpire. So back to the radar we go, and let me take you out to a broad view. If you're away from this little convergence boundary causing heavy rain from Joliet and Romeoville into Bronzeville and the south side of Chicago, there is not much going on. We do have a flood watch, including really all of this area from Aurora to Chicago, south to Kankakee, through 6 p.m. for additional rainfall, potentially leading to additional flooding problems. But the only warning, meaning the only actual flooding that we're seeing right now, is happening here in the Washington Park area and south side of Chicago out to Summit, Bridgeview, Willowbrook, and Darien. Emergency managers reporting. This is out in Ford County, out of our viewing area. They're also encountering some flooding there. Again, the only major tangible problem that we've gotten official word of from the Weather Service is a vehicle rescue at a flooded underpass in Washington Park. That's really been under the worst part of this storm. Just up toward the loop, we've been watching this storm try to expand, rather, sending some light rain along the Eisenhower Expressway out toward Oak Park. It is possible that some parts of this storm start to pick up on some new energy and pick up in intensity north of it, but mainly the main focus of the storm development and redevelopment at that has been south of this warned area. We're seeing some heavy rain spreading a little bit down south on the Dan Ryan, but mainly out toward Oak Lawn and Burbank. Notice how it was staying neatly contained in the flash flood warning polygon, but now it's heading toward Burbank, Oak Lawn, very heavy rain, and you can actually see this little green line right there. That's the outflow, or the rain-cooled air surging south from this system that will no doubt lead to some additional downpour development along and behind it. So Orland Park, Tinley Park, Midlothian, you guys are okay right now, but do plan on a likelihood of heavy rain developing in your area over the next hour or so. We're getting a photo from Midway. Let's check that out. Thank you to the control room for alerting me. This is live from the Midway Airport. And we've gotten word of a ground stop there. Ground stop, contrary to popular belief, it doesn't mean nothing's happening at the airport. It means that all inbound flights that haven't taken off yet from their original location are holding in place. So if you're in Minneapolis and you're trying to come home to Chicago and there's a ground stop at Midway, you have to sit on the tarmac until the ground stop is lifted. It doesn't necessarily mean that there are 0 planes taking off or landing. We may see some activity on the runways on this camera. Of course, skilled pilots for major airlines can land in 0 visibility. They can land in heavy rain. What becomes a problem is if you have a lot of air traffic backed up, or if you have flooded runways, or if you have wind damage or microbursts. These are things that you do not want to fly a plane of any size or variety through. Again, this live picture coming from inside of the flash flood warned area at Midway. Thank you to the control room, and feel free to pull something else up or get in my ear anytime. There's the part of the storm we were just looking at. You can see how things are starting to exhale, take a little breath out. The worst of the maroons, reds, and purples are dissipating a bit and moving southward. So again, if you're south of this line, it is quite likely that you get some additional rain here coming in over the next couple of hours, but the worst of it here is starting to weaken. Move you up toward Chicago, downtown, and northwestward. We've got a couple pop-up downpours. The same is true out toward Elmhurst and Addison. We'll have to keep an eye on these. Very intense rain forming quickly just northwest of Lombard. Look at that, right by Glendale Heights. Really heavy rain there on Route 53. You can see some of those purples there. Wouldn't be surprised if we see some very small hail with some of these, but that's not the main concern today. The main concern is going to be flooding rainfall and the potential of damaging wind gusts 50, 60 miles per hour. So I've given you some live camera views. Let me show you what this may look like in just a little bit. The high resolution rapid refresh, the HRRR model, one of our best, updates every single hour. And look at this. Over the next hour or two, it's showing well that the storm has moved southward. And as we let this lapse again, hopeful this is true, about an hour from now, it is either over Gary in a weakening state, or it's completely out of here. That would be nice to give our friends on the south side a bit of a break from this storm. Again, we are expecting the storm to continue weakening over Chicago, but a flash flood warning continues for these areas until 2:45, and that may be extended. That's 2 hours from now, so it gives us plenty of time for the runoff to continue and hopefully improve. But flash flood warning does continue in the meantime for these areas. So very dangerous storm will continue on the south side of Chicago for the time being. If you are in the flash flood warned area, what do? We always advise that the safest place to be in a flash flood warning is to just stay at home. 99% of problems happen when people are out and about. They're trying to drive through water. They're trying to walk through water. If you just stay at home, you will be safe. Now, if there are any folks with flooded basements, hopefully you can escape that standing water, get up to a higher floor of your home, and you will be safe as the worst of the rain has now passed behind us, it appears. But if you are in a situation where your actual home is flooding or you are in need of rescue either at home or in the water, of course we want you to go ahead and call 911, and first responders are trained to help you out in these situations. In the flash flood warned area, let's take another look at the rainfall totals that we've seen because they've been absolutely incredible. We can switch over to our updated every single minute rain totals. And this is technically for a 6-hour period, but if we put it into just right now, this will freeze the frame. And what a great job the Weather Service did with this flash flood warning. You can see how inside of this warned area, we've had the yellows, the reds. There's your legend up there. So yellow means 3 inches plus, the orange color rather. Deep orange is 4 inches, red is 5 inches, and some of the purples here, which we are actually seeing signs of showing up, those are indications of possibly a ½ foot of rain. So we'll move over toward you can see the Washington Park area really gotten hammered. Again, if you're just joining us, the heaviest rain has fallen from Bedford Park, Bridgeview out to Midway, Washington Park, almost toward the Bronzeville area, although the heaviest rain has tapered off here as you get into Bronzeville and toward the lakeshore. But this is really incredible rain. Over a month's worth of rain has fallen in the south side in just 2 hours. This is a very dangerous situation with no doubt widespread roadway flooding and widespread basement flooding. If we, here, I'll stop talking for a second and actually look at some of these values for you. The reds around Midway, these are very heavy totals that we've seen. Let me try that one more time. No surprise here to be getting up to 5 inches of rain, 4 inches of rain. There's 5.2 estimated at Midway. But how about just southeast of there? That purple blob, ½ foot of rain estimated by our dual polarization radar, really sophisticated radar. So I'll bet my money that that has actually happened this afternoon close to 59th Street. If we move out toward 71st and Western, you can see some of these reds and yellows, 4.8 inches indicated. In the heart of Inglewood, 3.4 inches. Up on Ashland, just northwest of there, over 4 inches. Bronzeville and Washington Park, again, this by itself has been enough to trigger water rescues on State Street in Washington Park, just south of the center of Washington Park there on State. And that's only 2.3 inches of rain. So we haven't gotten a lot of reports from the Weather Service of water rescues or other flooded roadways, but I have no doubt in my mind that most roadways have flooding problems in this area right now, from Summit and Bedford Park and Bridgeview eastward toward Englewood. So again, if you're in this area, don't drive, and especially don't drive through water-covered roadways. That's the way most people get in trouble in these flash flood situations. So let's take you back to the general radar. We'll clear this off and put it into motion. This storm system, again, weakening and drifting slightly southward out of the warned area. Hopefully the worst of this afternoon's rain on the south side of Chicago has passed, but still some decent rain falling and some redevelopment possible south and east of this line. I'm meteorologist David Yeomans with your live weather update. We'll be back here on streaming providers CBS News Chicago with frequent updates through the afternoon and cover this storm on air as the situation warrants. In the meantime, if you're in the flash flood warned area, stay safe and stay home this afternoon.
This has been a special weather alert from the CBS News Chicago First Alert Weather Team. CBS 2 News streams here. CBS News Chicago. keeping you safer sooner. CBS 2 First Alert Weather. CBS 2 News streams here. CBS News Chicago. keeping you safer sooner. CBS 2 First Alert Weather. CBS 2 News streams here. CBS News Chicago.
Even north of this storm, that's going to back things up there as well. Let me run through a few reports that we've just had. If you're on the south side out to Darien in DuPage County, we need you to stay at home through at least 2:45 in a vehicle on the roadways. That's the most dangerous place you can be. We're getting reports of from the newsroom, not only that vehicle rescue in Washington Park on South State, but also a flooded viaduct with high water at 72nd and Western. I-55, quote, lots of flooding south of downtown Chicago. Bedford Park is a mess with numerous flooding reports, and west of Midway we have reports of water creeping into homes from this stationary storm. This storm has just been sitting here. We watched it develop for you live in the 11 o'clock news this morning, and it's just been sitting in place, refusing to move since then. The good news is that these reds and purples have been weakening. The most torrential rainfall is now behind us, and the storm itself is finally showing some southward progress, actually moving out of the area, which is what we need in these areas. 6-hour rain totals, though, and most of this falling in just 2 hours, mind you, just absolutely mind-boggling. The Chicago area averages between 4 and 5 inches of rain during the wet season months like July. That's how much rain we've seen in 2 hours, a full July's worth of rain in just 2 hours. Let me highlight some of these totals, especially out toward Midway. Some of these purples, very concerning. 6.3 inches estimated by radar. Out to Bedford Park area, we've seen at least 6 inches of rain estimated as well. Inglewood neighborhood, 6.1. Washington Park, this was enough to create that vehicle rescue, just about 2 inches of rain there. The next areas that are in trouble from this storm, which again is on the weakening trend, they'll be southeast of here. So if you're in the loop along the Eisenhower Expressway or northward, we do not have much of a concern for this storm making it your way. This storm, I say that because we'll have more redeveloping later on, but this storm is drifting toward the south and east. If we track out the rough arrival times of it, notice we also have some heavy rain and downpours to Homer Summer Glen, Joliet, and Crest Hill. This rough complex of storms in a weaker form is heading toward the southeast. So folks at Pierogi Fest in Whiting, you guys are next up with dangerous lightning and torrential rain that are possible. The rough arrival times put it into Dalton by 1:33, Cal City at 1:50, East Chicago 1:54, and if it holds together, places like Chicago Heights and Munster thereafter, just after 2 p.m. We will continue to watch for the possibility, even the likelihood of additional complexes of storms through 6 p.m., leading to more flooding. A flood watch continues for all of Chicagoland until 6, and also a high flash flood concern continues with additional rounds of storms expected at times tonight into tomorrow. I'm meteorologist David Yeomans. Again, safest place to be on the south side this afternoon is inside at your home until this flash flood warning expires after 2:45. Join us on your streaming provider. Look up CBS News Chicago. We'll continue our coverage right there on streaming right now.
This has been a special weather alert from the CBS News Chicago First Alert Weather Team.
I'm meteorologist David Yeomans with continued live coverage of the flash flood warning on the south side of Chicago. Flash flood warning continues in this red polygon, or a maroon colored polygon, from Bridgeview and Midway out toward Woodridge and Hinsdale. South side of Chicago still actually has some really heavy rain that just won't quit on the Dan Ryan. We have not seen a tremendous amount of lightning with this storm. This is what we call a warm chord storm. What that means is the atmosphere is tropical, all the way up to 20,000 feet high. The air is above freezing. It's warm. There's a tremendous amount of moisture, which you can feel in the humid sauna-like air outside, and that, with a stalled boundary that was just sitting on the south side past couple hours, is creating flooding rainfall. We've had radar estimates in this area of over 1/2 foot of rain in 2 hours. That's 2 months worth of rain, or 1.5 months worth of rain in just a very short period of time. Fortunately, the storm here appears to have rained itself out. The southern periphery of it, though, down toward Crest Hill and Joliet, picking up. We have heavy rain falling in Lockport, Joliet, and some broken heavy downpours all the way up to Alsip and Orland Park. This whole complex is starting to drift toward the southeast. So Cal City, Hammond, Whiting, where we have the Pierogi Fest, of course, going on all weekend, we will have some heavy rain showers, at least spotted on the radar, moving your way. Let me take you out to the home broad view, and you can see this is a really localized complex of storms that have led to the flooding. It was part of a convergence axis which extended toward Ottawa and Morris, but that part of the line has really fallen apart. As I've mentioned, we are seeing weakening up here on this part of the line as well. So let me take you on a quick camera tour. We'll check in on the latest conditions around the area. I mentioned the ground stop that we've had at Midway. Average delays there now 59 minutes and growing, and you can see why. Our live Midway Airport reading a 74-degree temperature, so much cooler in the wake of this storm. Visibility has improved to about a mile. It was much lower than this earlier, and you can see some light to moderate raindrops still falling on the lens in that area. You step a little farther north, though, to Grant Park, and this storm has been so localized, it has hardly even rained in the loop. We do have some light rain ongoing right now at Grant Park, Buckingham Fountain, some folks with umbrellas walking about in the loop as we get ready for Lollapalooza weekend. Lots of setup going on in Grant Park, which you can see right there. But this is not the flood-inducing part of the storm. This is really just on the northern periphery of this storm. So we've generally gotten away just fine. One of the areas that we've mentioned as seeing flooding, remember I-55 seeing a lot of flooding. The Dan Ryan really wet and very slow, especially as folks head southward out of town on a Friday afternoon and into the worst part of that storm. Southbound delays are just massive right now on the Dan Ryan. Northbound not moving along that much more quickly. Let me show you the future weather model, and then we'll be back soon with another update. This is one of our best high-resolution models showing what the radar should look like through the rest of the day. Here we are getting toward 5-6 p.m., maybe a couple more complexes out west. But right here, there goes the complex into Gary, into Valpo. LaPorte County might be dealing with it through 4 p.m. But Chicago, the news is good over the next hour. The storm will be continuing to shift southeastward and continuing to move out of our hair. As I mentioned, the flood watch for more flooding continues until 6 p.m., but we also really have a potential of flooding through the night tonight and through the day tomorrow as well, with additional complexes of storms that are heading our way. So a flash flood warning with considerable damage possible continues from extreme southeastern DuPage into this sliver of central Cook County. We've had reports of water in homes and basements and at least one vehicle rescued this afternoon in Washington Park. If a flash flood warning is issued today for your area, the safest place to be is at home. If you do have to be out and about. We want you to turn around, don't drown. Most flash flood fatalities happen in vehicles. Again, this complex of storms winding down, moving southeast, but more will be on the way. We'll have your latest First Alert forecast and frequent updates here on streaming today. CBS News Chicago.
This has been a special weather alert from the CBS News Chicago First Alert Weather Team.
And an update now on some breaking news we were the first to tell you about this morning. A carjacking victim is counting his blessings. He says gun-toting men approached, ordered him out of his car, and told him to run. He escaped and called police. Later, his car is found crashed in the middle of 79th in South Chicago, and you can see the mess of fried chicken and other junk.
Keeping you safer sooner. CBS 2 First Alert Weather. CBS 2 News streams here. CBS News Chicago. Keeping you safer sooner. CBS 2 First Alert Weather. CBS 2 News streams here. CBS News Chicago. From the CBS News Chicago First Alert Weather Team, this is a special weather alert.
Good afternoon from the First Alert Weather Center. I'm meteorologist David Yeomans. A considerable flash flood warning continues for a slice of the south side of Chicago out toward parts of DuPage County, including Willowbrook. More than a half a foot of rain has fallen inside of 2 hours. That's a month and a half or 2 months worth of rain in just one afternoon. I want to start off with some video that we're just getting in the thick of this in Brighton Park. This is a video of what you are not supposed to do. Even a big 18-wheeler, big Amazon truck, look at that, trying to wade through water. Even big vehicles can get into trouble in these situations. This is at 47th and Archer. Looks like a viaduct flooded there. Again, Brighton Park flooding with vehicles doing what is inadvisable. Turn around, don't drown. We do not want you and your family getting into a situation where you will require rescue. We've already had one vehicle rescue confirmed today. Hopefully it ended up all right. That was in Washington Park on South State. Let's get into some new reports of flooding. This is just a heads up for people in the area and good reason to stay home. This is where we've had 6 to 7 inches of rain estimated by the radar from Bedford Park and Midway Airport out toward the Dan Ryan south of downtown Chicago. A viaduct flooded in New City. Also in New City, 2 to 3 feet of water at 47th Street between South Halsted and South Morgan. Other reports include I-55 flooded with a foot of standing water near Illinois 83. In Burr Ridge, there are photos circulating from emergency managers and folks in the area at Meadowbrook Drive and South Frontage Road of cars that are underwater up to their hoods. 87th and South Washington streets are submerged. 95th and Plainfield Naperville Road also submerged. Again, those are all new reports of flooding on the south side of Chicago and southwestward from there. The good news, as this flash flood warning expires at 2:45 for flooded basements that need some relief, flooded roadways that need some relief, we are actually seeing a bit of improvement now on the latest radar scan. Notice over the past hour or so, as we put this into motion, the radar colors are no longer yellows and reds and purples. The intense rain has really moved out of the area and also just fallen apart entirely from Summit to Bedford Park and Midway out toward Bronzeville and Washington Park. Still some steady rain falling, but you know, a half an inch of rain per hour instead of 3 or 4 inches of rain in 1 hour. You may be in the city of Chicago and think, what storm? A lot of us have been completely unaffected by this stationary thunderstorm. Now we are seeing some movement with it, but fortunately this thing is continuing to move. So heavy rain and thunderstorms heading into Orland Park and Tinley Park, Whiting, East Chicago. Folks out at the Pierogi Fest will need to move indoors as lightning, thunder, and heavy rain will threaten soon. But the worst of this will be moving through instead of sitting over your area for a long period of time. So that's a good sign. Taking an even broader view, this is one very isolated sliver of torrential tropical rain. As this falls apart, our attention will turn toward the future. A quick look at what that may look like includes our high-resolution model predicting the possibility of some bad storms in our area, again moving in later this evening. There's a potential of flooding not only this afternoon, but tonight, tomorrow. Look at our high-resolution forecast as we look towards 6-7 p.m. Some storms will be redeveloping in our area at that time after this initial round finally passes. Again, we're watching a flash flood warning that will continue until 2:45. Let's get back to the Bedford video that we were just showing you. This is a good illustration again of why we do not want you driving through flooded roadways. This is a big Amazon semi-truck at Brighton Park. This is Brighton Park at 47th and Archer. Video, rather, from someone in that area coming in of people, not only the Amazon driver, but also numerous people in traffic here driving through water-covered roadways under a viaduct. This is how 80% or so of flash flood deaths happen. It's in vehicles, sometimes with moving water that sweeps your vehicle off the road, but sometimes in standing water. If you get into a situation where your vehicle is in 2 or 3 feet of water that you may not have realized was that deep before you drove in, your car stalls out, the water is too heavy against your door for you to open the door, and then you end up putting other people's lives at risk when you call 911 to get rescued and get out of that situation. So if you're in this flash flood warning on the south side of Chicago, all the way to west of Midway, we need you to stay indoors, stay off the roads. This is new video coming in from Hyde Park, an area that has also been hit hard by rain, but generally 1 to 3 inches in this section of the south side instead of the 6 to 7 inches that we've seen west of here. You still do see, though, some standing water on roadways in Hyde Park and some very heavy rain falling, illuminated by the bus's headlights there. Many people in Chicago have been completely unaffected by these storms, a very localized event, but all of them typically are. We have a history of dangerous flash floods that are getting more dangerous and more frequent as the climate warms. Warmer air, like you feel outside today, holds more moisture, and that is leading to a statistical increase in these rain bombs. Summer of 2023, we had 2 of them, 4th of July weekend and September, 7 to 9 inches of rain. Today, we'll have to see where the highest totals end up, but radar estimates getting up towards 6-7 inches as the storm finally starts to move on. So if you are in this small sliver of Cook County under a flash flood warning, please stay off the roadways until 2:45. If you do have a flooded basement, we certainly feel for you. Home is still the safest place to be unless you have water coming into all levels of your home, in which case we need you to call 911 to be rescued. The flash flood warning should expire on time at 2:45. Behind it, we don't have anything terribly threatening this afternoon, but myself and Chief Meteorologist Albert Ramon will be here through the afternoon and the evening covering additional rounds of storms that we expect to develop all the way through tomorrow evening, believe it or not. Join us on our streaming provider, CBS News Chicago. We will continue our live coverage there right now. We'll be back here on air on CBS News Chicago as the situation warrants. In the meantime, stay safe.
This has been a special weather alert from the CBS News Chicago First Alert Weather Team.
And we continue our live weather coverage as a dangerous risk of flooding has materialized and is finally starting to move on in the south side of Chicago. DeKalb, Elgin, Naperville, we have not seen a lot of rain, same as close to this warning as the Loop or the Eisenhower Expressway. But just south of that area, we've seen a lot of really tremendously tropical rainfall today. It's finally starting to weaken and move toward the southeast. There's the flash flood warning where we've seen the worst of it today. Let's freeze the radar now because we still do have some pretty torrential rainfall falling, even though it's not leading to terrible rain totals yet. Out toward Mokina, New Lenox, we have some very heavy rain, Joliet, Homer Glen. This is slowly sliding off toward the southeast. So Tinley Park, Chicago Heights, folks in the far south suburbs, you are next. But these storms are not sitting still when they arrive, so we're not terribly worried about significant flooding. It will still be very disruptive, though, for folks out and about on a Friday afternoon, heading out for a drink, leaving, after, I was going to say after school activities, but anything that the young folks are up to in the summer, camp, whatnot, any reason they might be outside. In Flossmoor, down to Chicago Heights, we do have some scattered downpours. Let me take you over toward Whiting because, of course, thousands of people have been outside all day at the Pierogi Fest. This whole mass of rain is heading your way, but it's also weakening. So it's possible we see some cloud-to-ground lightning in Whiting. The storm itself is now close enough to where we should advise folks in Whiting to be heading indoors or into safe shelter until any threat of lightning or thunder passes. There's that saying, when thunder roars, go indoors. We need you to stay inside if you've seen distant lightning or heard even a distant rumble of thunder until 30 minutes go by without any additional lightning or thunder. It's not until 30 minutes go by, lightning and thunder free, that the storm has passed and it is again safe to go back outside. Cal City, you guys are ahead of the storm, haven't seen much rain there yet. Zooming back into the flash flood warned area from Hodgkins and Summit to Bridgeview out toward Bronzeville. We are still seeing steady, lighter rain, but absolutely nothing like what we saw earlier. Our CBS News Chicago crews are fanning out across this area. We have 2, possibly 3 crews who are gathering reports for us. So you'll want to make plans to join us on air, CBS News Chicago at 4 o'clock. Starting then and through the evening, we will have what I suspect and what I fear might be be proof of a damaging flash flood. Basements likely flooded. We've had cars submerged in water. We've had water reported to be coming into people's homes several miles south of the Midway Airport. On a less important note, we've also had massive delays at Midway and O'Hare. Ground stops were in effect at both locations. Average delays at Midway were 59 minutes for arrivals and departures. So this is messing with a lot of people's days. Of course, the most significant focus is people who are sustaining flood damage, either their vehicles, their basements, other parts of their homes. Our hearts are certainly with you today. Let's put this radar back into the rain total mode, because this has been something rare and something most impressive about these storms. We've been warning you all day on CBS News Chicago with the flood threat today and again tonight and again tomorrow that we could see some bullseyes of 4 or 5 inches of rain. It looks as of right now like we have seen even more than that. Here we are on the south side. There's Chicago, downtown in the Loop. Up toward Lincoln Park and Old Town, it hasn't even rained in the past 6 hours. Logan Square, Wicker Park, pretty much dry weather as well. But once you get south of Cicero towards Stickney and anywhere down toward Midway, really incredible rain has fallen. This is a 6-hour rainfall total, but a lot of this has just fallen since about 11:15 a.m. So what is that? 2.5 hours now? Most of this fell in just an hour and a half, to be honest with you. Some of these reds, as you can see up there on the legend, that's 5 inches. Some of the purples, this is indicative of over a half a foot of rain. Let's get really tight here. It's be interesting to see which neighborhoods are watching. If anybody's in this area and has a rain gauge, shoot us a note at CBS News Chicago. Give us a call. We'd love to hear your official reports. Down in Bedford Park, goodness, there is no doubt in my mind that we have some significant flooding of roadways. I fear of homes, maybe of businesses. This is out toward, let's see, just east of Harlem Avenue. Really impressive rainfall totals here. Once you get toward Edison, Bedford Park, this is 6.2, 6.5 inches. In the heart of clearing, slightly less than that, 5.3. The runways at Midway, about 5 inches of rain have fallen. Once we head a little bit east of there, out towards Cicero Ave, 70th, we've seen 6.5 inches of rain. On Cicero, there's no doubt we have some big flooding problems here. Some of these purples here, 6.7 inches. Again, these are radar estimates, so they're not perfect, but our radars are so sophisticated, especially this system that we have where you can see down to the street level. These are very, very accurate estimates, often right on the money. So I would put my money that we have indeed received 6 to 7 inches of rain in some parts of Chicago today. Getting reports now of flooding at 63rd and State. This is closer to the lakeshore, right by the railroad tracks. Thank you so much for the control room. Keep this stuff coming. We've got police officers there at 63rd and State blocking flooded low-lying roadways under the viaduct. We've got traffic diverting as they should be. Remember, we always say turn around, don't drown. It's a silly rhyme, but it really can save your life. Even big vehicles like this, they're fine driving through 6 inches of water, sure, but if you have 3 feet of water and maybe the roadway is actually missing underneath or has been washed away or a sinkhole is opened up, that can mean, the difference between life and death. You might be driving into a very dangerous situation. It's better to be late for your appointment, to be late for your school, whatever you got, or work going on this afternoon, appointments. It's better to be late than it is to be in a life-threatening situation where you might require rescue. So that was east of this area where we've also seen some very, very heavy rain totals. As we change the location of the map here just a bit, let's zoom in right there and look at this. Cicero Ave has really gotten hammered in this area, 6.4 inches just east of there. If you're down here on the 70th something streets, you have really been absolutely hammered by this storm. Didn't mean to take you out that wide. Let me take you back to the flash flood warned area. We'll take a look at some other rain totals. A lot of people watching maybe in toward Bronzeville, Washington Park. We've had some very impressive rain totals there as well. So let's check it out. Remember, we just reported 15 minutes ago or so, lots of reports of flooding on I-55. I have no doubt that the Dan Ryan has some flooded areas, especially the low-lying side streets, frontage roads, viaducts. Here's Halstead. Here's Ashland on the south side. There's Western. We've had reports of flooded roadways. I believe it was 72nd and Western. That is right under the bullseye here. There's 71st right there on the map in Western. Right under the bullseye is where we've seen some really incredible rainfall totals. Again, you can look at the color legend up there. Look at the color to the right of the number. 6 inches plus is purple, 5 inches plus is red. But if you're down here in these neighborhoods, look at this, 6.1 inches shown by the purple color. Toward Ashland and what is about 63rd Street, 6.4 inches of rain. Inglewood, the heart of the town there, we've had 5 to 6 inches plus, 6.4 inches just west of Halstead Street in Inglewood. Once we go toward Washington Park, and these are higher totals than we just showed you a moment ago, State Street, Washington Park, right in that area, 3 to 4 inches of rain estimated by our radar. These are typically, again, right on the money. So we've had a really significant rain event there, and twice as much rain just a couple miles to the west. Up here just north of there in Bronzeville, these yellow colors generally showing 2 to 3 inch totals, and out toward Lakeshore Drive, DuSable Lakeshore Drive, we've had lower totals of 1 to 2 inches. Again, we're still tracking the worst of the rainfall on radar, but it has generally moved out of this area. This is a real saving grace. We were worried about the rain sitting in place for another hour or two. It finally moved on, and you can see what's left in this flash flood warning south of Chicago. You see downtown there, south of downtown, I should say. Really just some light to moderate rain. So the National Weather Service continuing to give us damage reports. As I mentioned, Burr Ridge at South Frontage Road and Meadowbrook, we have cars submerged in standing water up to their hoods, but the additional flooding problems should be limited. In other words, the water is probably as high as it will get in these areas. In your basement, hopefully not, on the roadways and the parking lots. The worst of it has now passed. We are watching, though, the same storm system which caused all those problems now shifting out to the south and west. Now that the atmosphere in those areas has exhausted itself, it's tired, it can't rain anymore, but now it's building southward where the heat and moisture are still residing in the atmosphere. It always wants to build toward the best energy in the atmosphere, and that's now down toward New Lenox, Frankfort, Chicago Heights, and Crete. If we put this into motion, though, you can see over the last, let's just do 30 minutes here so we can focus on the latest movement. It was pretty organized out toward Lockport and New Lenox, but even that stuff is starting to weaken and dissipate. Exhale, we say, big downdraft blowing away from the storm as the energy kind of dissipates and heads down toward ground level. We do have some rain rates that are picking up, though, away from that cell over New Lenox. So east of Frankfort on 30, out toward Chicago Heights, this is still some really torrential rain that you don't want to mess around with, but it's not the incredible rain that we saw just hours ago on the south side of Chicago. So I'll switch you back to the home view. You can see we're focused in on Chicagoland right now, but there's not a lot else to show you on First Alert radar. Kendall County completely dry. Gary and Whiting doing okay, even though some rain is heading toward Pierogi Fest this afternoon. Let me show you how the rest of the afternoon may evolve on one of our best high-resolution models. Let me show you actually a different one. This is one of our best as well, showing some additional storm development, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, maybe moving back towards Chicago. This is something we'll have to certainly watch as there are more disturbances in the atmosphere southwest of our viewing area and heading this way. We have a flood watch for additional flash flooding in Chicagoland through 6, but we have the real potential that we see additional flooding overnight and again at times tomorrow. So as I've advised my friends who have outdoor plans tomorrow, you need to keep an indoor alternative at the ready. Not all of your all-day plans will be washed out. We'll have some dry pockets here and there, but tonight, tomorrow, we really have to be weather aware because if one of these storms sits over you like we had today on the south side of Chicago, this can lead to a very dangerous situation very quickly when you not only have to go inside and alter your plans, but where you could be trapped in a flash flood. Let me take you back to some of the cameras, hopefully showing some improvement. On the Dan Ryan, we've seen the storm really lighten up in the past hour. Remember, the traffic problems will linger, not only because we're heading toward a busy Friday afternoon on the roads, but because folks here are heading southward. Remember, I said there's likely flooding problems on the Dan Ryan south of Rate Field, where we are now. These are folks heading toward that jam up on the south side. So folks heading northbound into the city for a variety of reasons, a little bit easier traffic, but heading south into the flood, it is not helping the traffic situation, no doubt, this afternoon. National Weather Service coming to us saying the rain has let up but continues within the flash flood warning. Additional pockets of heavy rain moving across southern Cook, parts of Will County. That's what we just showed you down toward New Lenox. So nothing new with that report. Let's take you over to Midway, where we've had hour-long delays on average. Visibility has improved a little bit, but we're still seeing some light rain falling. If I can ask the control room, yeah, this is a great picture of Midway. Thank you. So remember, we covered how a ground stop means not necessarily that everything has come to a grinding halt, but just that inbound planes that haven't taken off for Chicago yet have to sit still. So this lessens the amount of incoming traffic and eases the air traffic control situation at O'Hare and Midway. But you can still see there was a Southwest plane there on the runway. There's still some activity during a ground stop. And is it confirmed, guys, that the ground stop does continue right now at Midway and O'Hare? Okay, so those have both been lifted. Okay, ground stops have been lifted, so hopefully the delays continue to ease up. Let's get back to that video if we can from, was it Brighton Park? We've seen several reports of flooding coming in, not only with 6 to 7 inch rain totals we were showing you, but this is Brighton Park at 47th and Archer, just doing what you're not supposed to do. This is it's a semi truck, so you might think they're fine, but that's 2 to 3 feet of water. And even a large vehicle like this, which you or I are not driving, we're driving something smaller and more vulnerable, can stall in floodwaters like this. If water gets into the engine intake, you're stuck. And if the water is exerting pressure on your door from the outside in, you can't open your door, and that's how sometimes people get into trouble, even in standing water like we're seeing here. So we always tell you, turn around, don't drown, but really turning around instead of trying to drive through water like this man or woman did can be the key to keeping yourself safe on a Friday afternoon flood like this, and keeping your family safe as well. So the good news is standing water like that will hopefully not get any higher than it is right now. Storms have weakened in Chicago and including in Brighton Park in this area. I'm going to take a break to reset for a moment, gather some new reports. If you have any reports, contact us online, CBS News Chicago. We will be back with more frequent live updates here on streaming, CBS News Chicago, throughout the day. Stay safe.
This has been keeping you safer sooner. CBS 2 First Alert Weather. CBS 2 News streams here. CBS News Chicago. keeping you safer sooner. CBS 2 First Alert Weather. CBS 2 News streams here. CBS News Chicago. keeping you safer sooner. CBS 2 First Alert Weather.
Darien area. Now rain gauge confirmed reports of up to 5.5 inches of rain. That's in Burr Ridge, just south of downtown Chicago. What we're looking at here is a 3 to 4 mile wide swath of incredible, possibly historic rain that fell in the past several hours. Meanwhile, people up in the Loop hardly have seen any rain today. We have our Asal Razai live right now in Ashburn. Asal, did you just get out there? What are you seeing now?
Yeah, David, we've been out here for the past couple of hours and we're seeing some widespread flooding in pockets of the south side. No rain in Beverly this morning as we were there around 11 o'clock. Around noon, things started to pick up. Right now we're in Ashburn. This is off Hamlin and 75th Street. And take a look, David, right in the middle of the road there. That was almost impassable just about 20 minutes ago when we first pulled up here. Things are starting to drain and we'll pan over. You'll see where that red truck just pulled in. Over that way, the flooding is a lot worse and it's starting to drain. You're going to start seeing people coming out. We've talked to a couple of people in this area who've told me that their basements are starting to flood, and we're seeing right now people trying to dig out their sewers that are covered in water, trying to prevent flooding and perhaps trying to get things moving again. This is what we're really seeing the most of in this neighborhood. I saw some people using their leaf blowers trying to clear some of the water, some people just trying to clear debris from their sewage by hand. And you'll see the corners of the sides of the road, I should say, are flooding here. About 20-30 minutes ago, David, when the rain was coming down really hard, we saw this area, and this is why we stopped here. It was almost impassable. In this neighborhood, there's this small pocket here of a residential area right next to Daly College. That's where we are. The most major intersection I can tell you is 76 and Pulaski is what we're closest to. And here, I had to turn around in this neighborhood 4 or 5 times just coming down different streets. And we always report this is if you see that you're not going to be able to pass, you have to turn around. And that's really what we've been practicing here this morning. We also saw on Western and 79th Street, that viaduct close by there, that was completely flooded. We're working to get that video to you. And David, out here, the rain is starting to calm down a little bit. We're seeing, you can still see on the water, it's still sprinkling, but the flooding is starting to clear a little bit as we see the rain start to die off a little bit. And we're going to talk to some people in this area who have told told us that their basements have flooded a little. And as you mentioned, this could be a possible historic flood event. This is one of the neighborhoods on the south side that we know sees a lot of flooding when those heavy downpours do come down. So we're keeping an eye on this part of the neighborhood and other pockets here on the south side. For now, David, I'll send it back to you in the studio.
Yes, Alan, we'll let you gather those reports here in just a moment. But real quick, on your way down there during the height of the storm, what were the roadways like that you encountered? And did you indeed see people driving through water-covered roads, which, again, we don't advise?
We did see that, David, especially near that viaduct that I told you about on Western near 79th Street. We saw people attempting to go through, and it was so deep on some of the smaller compact cars, it was almost up to their windows. A lot of people, though, fortunately, we saw they were turning around in that viaduct area, and then a lot of people were just completely skipping it and going up on the sidewalks. We saw a lot of people driving on sidewalks trying to avoid that flooding. Some of the main roads, Pulaski, Kedzie, Western, most of those roads we did not see any flooding, David, but once we approached that viaduct, that's the worst flooding we've seen close by on a main road. And then of course these neighborhoods, that's where I've seen the most danger as far as the conditions go in the roads. Small streets like this, these residential streets, is where we've seen cars trying to get by. A lot of cars, though, I'm happy to report, David, have turned around. Not a lot of people I've seen so far trying to drive through them. That is good news.
Our Sal Razai live in Ashburn. Thank you so much for your coverage, Sal. We'll let you go talk to the neighbors. Do be safe out there. Thanks again. Here in the First Alert Weather Center, we've seen this really incredible rain event over the past several hours. These are 6-hour rain totals, but it's been confirmed that almost all of this, or all of this in many neighborhoods, fell in an hour and a half. 6.5 inches close to Washington Park, west of Bronzeville. 6.7 inches just south of Midway Airport. 5.9 close to Bridgeview. 5 inches or so just east of Willowbrook. Again, you could have been either north or south of this storm and not even known that there was any flooding going on at all. A very localized instance of flooding, which is not uncommon. When we get these rain totals, we don't get 6 inches across several counties. We get 6 to 7 inches in 1 or 2 little neighborhoods. Let me take you back to the radar picture here, and you can see how things have really cleared out. As Asal Razai was just showing you, the rain has nearly stopped across the flash flood warned area. If we put this into motion, you can see how things have been really continuing to wind down in this flood alert from Burr Ridge and Westmont and Darien eastward out toward the lakeshore south of the Loop. We have had too many reports of water and flooding in roadways, vehicle rescues to count. We had a new vehicle rescue reported in Gage Park where there were, I believe, 2 cars that were in a flooded viaduct. 1 person required rescue. 1 vehicle was able to be towed out. Fortunately, as I mentioned, the storm has now dissipated for the most part, and any water that is out there should be receding as opposed to getting even higher. What's left of that same storm, though, is now pushing southeastward. So folks in Lansing, Whiting, of course, we have Pierogi Fest going on, some heavy rain and lightning on your doorstep. The fortunate news, though, with the continuation of this cluster of storms is that it's moving, and it's actually moving faster and faster as opposed to sitting over one spot. That means flooding is possible with a flood watch, including Chicago through 6 p.m., but any flooding like we've seen on the south side today is very unlikely because storms have to sit still for that to happen. We see these storms being quite progressive. Let me show you a quick projection of what we look like through the rest of the afternoon. It is possible that as this storm system exits northwest Indiana by 4 or 5 p.m., another disturbance brings another cluster of storms closer to our area later this evening. Chief Meteorologist Albert Ramon will be watching the evening forecast unfolding, not only a threat of flooding now, but a threat of flooding through tomorrow night. More updates live streaming right now on CBS News Chicago. We'll see you soon.
This has been a special weather alert from the CBS News Chicago First Alert Weather Team.
And thanks for joining us for our continued streaming coverage. I'm meteorologist David Yeomans in the First Alert Weather Center. If you're just joining us today, a very narrow flash flood warning with a considerable tag on it. Devastating flash flooding for some folks who have flooded basements, who have been needed to be rescued from vehicles driving through water, just in this really narrow strip of South Chicago. If we zoom into this area, this is really a one affected area of, several. This is a very densely populated area, but it's a very small geographic area. area. The flash flood warning continues until about 2:45, so it should expire, according to what the National Weather Service is telling us, in the next 20 to 30 minutes. But it does not look like the flood problems will completely cease at that time. If folks have water in their basements, if they have standing water on roadways, we've seen reports of water up to cars' hoods. Vehicles' hoods are submerged in water in some parking lots out toward Burr Ridge. We've had rain gauge confirmations of up to 5.5 inches of rain that actually fell today. That's more than a full month's worth of rain during our rainy season, all in 2 hours. Radar estimates close to Midway, 6 to 7 inches in some areas. The worst of this, though, is now passing, even though the flash flood warning continues. Let me take you on a quick tour again of some of the most incredible rainfall totals that we've seen. This is a 6-hour total accumulation, but keep in mind it hasn't really been raining much on the front end or the back end of that, so really the lion's share of this fell in just an hour and a half or 2 hours. If you're watching from out toward the lakeshore, Bronzeville, Washington Park, some of these areas in the yellow colors showing up to 3 inches of rain, 2.5 inches of rain. That by itself is nothing to sneeze at. We had a vehicle rescue on the southwest side of Washington Park on South State Street with only 2.5 inches of rain that had fallen at that time. Englewood, once we get toward there, Midway and Bedford Park, these are absolutely mind-boggling totals. I would say it's unheard of, but it's not. In this warming climate, warmer air holds more moisture, and heavier rain events are getting heavier. It's been documented, according to us and to the National Weather Service, in recent years and decades. Close to Englewood, you can see some of these totals. Let's query them specifically. In excess of 6 inches. On the northwest side of Englewood, this is a radar estimate, but likely very accurate, of 6.4 to 6.5 inches. Once we get to just south of Midway, these are parts of 50 that have seen flooding, 6.9 inches, almost 7 inches. We've actually seen some radar estimates of just over 7 inches. And toward Bedford Park, more of these purple colors mean more than a half a foot of rain has fallen in just a very short time this afternoon. We'll take you back to the radar, show you a broad picture. This flash flood warning, again, small as it is, will be expiring at 2:45, but we'll still be on the lookout for slowly receding water after that point. What's left of this storm system slowly clipping through northwest Indiana. Heavy rain, dangerous lightning, even torrential rain at times, but it will be moving instead of stationary, so significant flooding not expected there. But we have the same weather pattern in place tonight and through the day tomorrow, leading to more rounds of rain and an additional risk of flooding. We'll leave you with a live picture now of the city of Chicago as we get ready for more rain. Here we are on the Dan Ryan after very heavy rain on the south side. We'll leave you with this picture, and Chief Meteorologist Albert Ramon back shortly with more live updates. Stay safe.
This has been a special weather alert from the CBS News Chicago First Alert Weather Team.
President Donald Trump headed to Scotland.
Keeping you safer sooner. CBS 2 First Alert Weather. CBS 2 News streams here. CBS News Chicago. Keeping you safer sooner. CBS 2 First Alert Weather. CBS 2 News streams here. CBS News Chicago.